Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick update and a review on a couple of products that I've been using in this nano tank. If you can see, there is an octagon filter. It is run by an air pump. Very closely you can see the pad itself is darkening, which means that even at the low rate that I have the air going in, is working. The bubbles may be slightly larger than you would expect from an air stone, but I found that the larger bubbles actually help run the filter on a smaller amount of air. Now, the brand of filter that I got has two-stage filtration. It has these stones in the bottom along with a pad. It's also good for aeration. Now, this is the Octagon Air Drive filter. It's a mini filter. It has mechanical and biological filtration. The mechanical part is basically the air-driven part with the pad. It's from Ultima Aquatics. It does up to a 2-gallon tank, the two-stage filtration. You can't really read the box, but it filters up to a 2-gallon tank. And it is doing its job. Although the water is still slightly tinted, this, as I've explained before, tinted water is much better on a growing fish than clear water, because tinted water has a lot of the good bacteria and other food sources for not only the fish but the shrimp and whatnot. The shrimp are actually hiding down in these tubes, and they like to burrow themselves into the filter to eat the waste that is sucked into the filter. I actually, when I was taking down the filter for the large tank, which I will show you in a few minutes, the shrimp were actually happily hopping in and out of the biofilter, the black sponge biofilter pad. And when I took them out of the water, they popped out of said sponge and were wiggling their little butts at me, and I had to quickly dip it into the tank so that they could skitter off. And promptly after I poured it out, or put it back in, after rinsing it, they all ran right back to the filter to climb down into it to eat the waste products that were caught by it. Another thing that I use to help clear up is this. It is an AccuClear. I only use 2 to 3 drops, or I only used 2 to 3 drops over time, over a couple of weeks' time. I may have used it 3 or 4 times. You use it with water changes and whatnot to clear it out. I'm so sorry about the bottles and the canisters and whatnot. That's from me changing water in the tank. I actually came up with a good solution for changing the water in the tank. And I don't see my line over here. I might grab it after I show you the other. It might actually be over on the other side of the table. But anyways, this is my daughter's nano tank. And there is a very happy baby fish in there. The other fish that died about a week ago. It's been almost a week since it died. It had a birth defect where its mouth was stuck open, and it was only a matter of time for it to die. So I know my water parameters are good on this tank. And I have oyster shell in there as well to kind of harden the water up a little bit and it's making the snails obviously are very happy. And the little shrimpies have been dancing around on occasion. Anyways, let's go over to see the filter in the other tank. That is a air-driven corner filter. It has basically four stages, if you count the scrubber sponge in the top, of filtration. The first stage is the scrubber sponge, which breaks up the waste material. Then you have the black sponge, which is a biosponge that collects waste materials to feed the bacteria that's going into it, but it also allows for the water to go through to the white filter, which is part of that particular 3-stage area, where it takes that white filter medium, however you want to call it, filter pad, is actually 2 pieces that I cut out to fit, and it's pretty cheap just to buy it online on eBay. Then there's the double solid / fluid. Some people call it fluid, some people call it solid. There's the ceramic tubes, which harbor a lot of good bacteria and help to finish scrubbing out and filtering whatever's left of the waste materials. And what gets past that feeds the bacteria down in these stones. I have oyster shell in there, along with several other kinds of stones and media, ceramic tubes, the smooth ones, river rock, and oyster shell. The oyster shell keeps the parameters of the tank between 7 and 8 on the water hardness. Now, that is actually beneficial to the fish due to the fact that they are tank raised, and most likely they were put on a harder water system than I have in the tank. I had to put that in there also for the snails and the shrimp. If you can see back in the background, there's a snail cleaning off the shell of one of the trumpet snails. There's a ram's horn. And I have, if you can see those are pond snails. and they are breeding like crazy, so the parameters are near perfect for them. Now, water quality, the best way you can tell is by looking at some of your snails. And this is Zippy. If you can tell, his shell is nicely formed and darker. The video is a teeny bit grainy because even my main tank, I keep the water slightly tinted. But you can see him up close and see that his shell is beautifully formed and not shrunken. Even the more susceptible to disease and other ailments that would cause their, such as malnutrition, that would cause their shells to be bad. Lighter colored snails, ram's horns, have nice shells. As you can see, that one is climbing out from behind, or crawling out from behind the heater. And their feet are actually darkening, so we're going from an orange colored foot to a darker red, which is another sign that they're getting what they need. Zippy, on the other hand, has a really dark red coloration to his foot. You can't see it very well on the camera, but it's a dark red with a brown, almost like a brunette's hair color. As we have a baby fish that just came up and said hi. Then we have this tank, which one of these rifts just went up into the top. They like to hang out at the top and in the bottom media. Although for breeding purposes, I found out still water works better, but I'm still putting aeration in this one that's larger. And I'll be back in a moment. Okay, here we are at Draconis' tank. I don't know if you can see them, but there is 2 to 3 times the amount of shrimp that were in my son's jar, Amir's jar. That's his picture over there, by the way. And they are happily swimming around. Then you have this jar. The greenness is actually something you want to happen in a closed or semi-closed system. They do have tubes that allows for oxygenation of the surface of the water so that they're not lacking for food, because the water needs a slight amount of oxygenation to cause the greenness. Not too much. And this is the dragon in the tank. Y'all know him pretty well by now. He's just hanging out on his bridge. He's got his sheddies going on, getting ready for brumation. If you can see, that little piece is coming up on his side. Mommy had to help him get his belly peeled, all I did was tear away the skin that had an air bubble under it. You never want to pull the skin off. Just tear away the pieces that are already loose. Yeah, that's part of his belly skin. And as promised, this is the system I use for draining the nanotanks. This is one of those air reducing valves, and I put it into this. It doesn't just work for draining, but also for putting water back in for the water change. You close it completely, run some sink water through it, close it completely, put the longer end into the tank, and it sucks. Once you've opened the valve, it will cause gravity to pull water out. And once you've gotten to the level that you need, you shut off this valve and discard the water. I do it through a fish net, a fine mesh fish net, just to make sure I didn't get any shrimps. And then when you put water back in, you put the shorter end into the tank and the longer end into the container that you're taking the water from, and open the valve and it will push water through. I do recommend flushing the hose over a net. You have small invertebrates like I do in those tanks. It catches all the small invertebrates and allows you to put them back into the tank. Anyways, that's the video. I do highly recommend the filter that I showed earlier. I got it on Amazon. It was pretty cheap, about $8. And there's oyster shell on Amazon if you want to put oyster shell down into a corner filter. That one is very hard to open. That's the only thing that I have against it. It's very hard to open up the plate area, which I'll pretty much figure out how to do later on when I need to replace the stone. Anyways, also, that is his new picture. It's a temporary tattoo that he happened to like the picture on, so Mommy just taped over, didn't take the plastic shield off, just taped over the edges so that it actually stays. Because I teased him that's what he looks like in his dream, and he liked it. Anyways, I'm signing off right now because my voice cannot take talking too much longer. And the dragon would rather me put his creepies back on and stop with the vlogging. Alright, bye guys.